Welcome into the room. And remember, this room, we're going to be talking about purpose-driven leadership within the 21st century corporations, the need to adapt corporate cultures which support gender equality at the executive level. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our first speaker. There's a lot. She has done so much, but I'm just going to pick out some salient points and introduce her to you. Paula Kerr-Jarret started her early education in Jamaica and completed high school in the UK. Over the following years, as she reassimilated into the Jamaican culture, she had many experiences which has allowed her to recognize and appreciate the tremendous assets that Jamaica had to offer, particularly in the people. Her primary passion has since then been to help develop and establish Jamaica and its environs into one of the most highly sought after locations to visit, live, and work. Everybody knows this. She cultivated a role as a social entrepreneur, connecting various individuals, charities, business, and government organizations in order to create a synergy of ideas, always where possible, aiming to advance the prospects of Jamaica from all levels of society. Now, over the years, her role has evolved to be both in the capacity of fundraising as well as heightening the awareness of various sections of the local and international community to the needs of the less educated and underserved in Jamaica. Her goal, if it's to be put in a nutshell, would be fair opportunity for all. This is because she has a strong belief that your past should not determine your future, nor should your address or your social background predetermine your potential prospects. She says everyone deserves a first, second, and third chance. Good morning, and over to you, Mrs. Paula Kerr-Jarret Wegman.
Hi, thank you so much, Roxine, and it's just a pleasure to be here. And isn't it incredible what's happening now with this whole virtual world? I mean, I always think to myself, yes, the pandemic has been devastating. Obviously, the whole world has suffered in many huge proportions in so many different ways. But at the same time, we always have to look for the good, right? And I think that the silver lining has been that we have become a lot more flexible in our outlook. And I think that, now that we're dealing with today with this empowerment of women, I think that it's something that actually, if we look at it with the right lens, it's very powerful for women because here we are at this event and I'm be able to be in New York City and you're in Jamaica and people are from all over the world and we're all together. So I just think it's wonderful. And that brings me to my first point, which is, everyone can see my backdrop, but I love this picture because I remember as a child, when this Virginia Slims came out, it was all the rave and everybody was so excited about the progress that, females had in the world. There was great hope, great anticipation. And I don't want us to forget that we have come a far way. Yes, we're not exactly where we want to be. We're not out of the woods. There's still a lot of improvement to be made. I mean, still, wage, disparity between wages of, men and women are still much too high, 73% too wide. Let's not even touch on the sexual harassment problems that we're having. Despite coming on the heels of the Me Too movement, we're still having a lot of people, a lot of men, unfortunately, and probably, women too, I'm sure, but a lot of men that feel that, they have the power to determine a woman's future. And that's playing out now, as we can see. There's still a lot of discrimination. I mean, there's a lot going on, but at the same time, we now have, and I'm going to list them. We have the, the virtual workplace, the work from home, the flexi week. And as I laughed and said to my husband last night, we were just chatting about it. I said, a lot of the time there were so many gaps in a woman's resume because you had to choose between having a family and having a sterling career where you had a resume that was, 2 miles long and never missed a day of work. And that was just unrealistic for women. And I think that, if any company still has that sort of demand in their workforce, it's going to be a lot easier for women going forward because you're going to be able to balance your personal life and your work life by working from home when you're able to. So I think there are some positive things that have come out, but I just wanted today not just address things like amenities and benefits and that sort of thing, but I want to also get into some of the ingrained systems, situations that are going on in our world and in a woman's world where you have attributes that we're not always being encouraged to bring out. And I have to say how grateful I am because thinking about this a topic for a couple of weeks now and trying to sort of percolate and what would I say that would be meaningful, I reached out to my husband's daughter, who is the CEO of their family business. It's called Wegmans. And I said to her, Colleen, could you give me some points on, this center of the topic, empowering women in the workforce? I mean, you're a CEO, you work for the best company that, they've been voted 6 years consecutively, best company to work for in America. 50% of their C-suite are women. And she sent me back and she said, look, I can't help you. Speak to my father. He's been working on this for decades. So I asked my husband, Danny, to join us today, and he graciously agreed. And I just want to give you a little background of not just him, but his whole ethos before he comes in. And basically, I remember being fascinated when I met him. And, he's just so understanding about women, what we call, he has that sort of female intuition. He just understood women. He just wanted the woman in his life to excel and be the best. And he looked at me and says, how do you mean? What do you expect? I was the only son, 3 sisters. I had 9 nieces, no nephews, and then I had 2 daughters. He said, of course I had to understand women. And of course I had to spend my life empowering women. And he's just gender blind. So I thought to myself, well, who else to include on this talk than my husband, Danny Wegman? So I'm going to ask him to join me now. And it's a Sunday, so, thankfully he's home and he can do this quite easily. And I see they're putting up on the screen a little background because some of you might not know about the company. But as I said, Wegmans has been voted #1 company for the 6th consecutive year, which means that there are some happy workers and obviously customers. And now we are number 17. Colleen and her father, Danny here, are working very hard on getting up that ladder as well for the best, amongst the 17 best large workplaces for women. And so I have Danny here, and I just want to ask him to share with us. Can you see? There you are. Share with us your perspective and just how this all began with your interest in seeing women be treated equally, being paid equally, going up the ladder at the same way that.
Well, good morning, everyone. As you can see, I've got a pretty good fan here, and I'm very fortunate in that sense. Little bit about Jamaica and our family. We've been in Jamaica for over 50 years, and my dad fell in love with Jamaica, and I did too. We're a family company, 50,000 people, and 20% or 10,000 are related. So
they do a lot of marrying in that company, and children coming to work.
And children. So it's very important that we have a good culture at Wegmans, because and we're driven by it, by our families. Not only are we a family company, but we're a company of families, and that's kind of what we are. One of the things we've tried to do is import fruits from Jamaica, because I think the fruit in Jamaica is spectacular. It's a challenge, and we'll keep working on it. And I'll probably have to have my daughters and my grandchildren work on it too, because it takes a long time. But
that's Jamaica.
That's one of the goals we have. And my favorite word from Jamaica is respect, and I think it's a wonderful word, and it comes from the heart of the folks who say it to me, and I always appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Danny, last night we were chatting. We had a friend for dinner who was telling us about her experience in the work industry. She works in the food industry she was a restaurateur, she was a cook, and that is actually one of the most sort of male-dominated spaces. And so she was saying that, she had to really exert herself, and it took her a while to understand that. But you then said that, we were asking you, and you said, well, you ruled the day when you had daughters because of, what you saw, 40 years ago in the workspace.
Well, back in 1980, I was watching some of our practices, and we were open 24 hours at the time, and we would schedule people to 8 o'clock, and young people till 8 o'clock at night, but the store would be busy and they'd have to stay till 10. And then they were scheduled for 6 o'clock in the next morning. And I thought this was terrible. And I said, what a bad practice we have. And one of the best things that happened to us was that the labor market became tight, and it was difficult to get people. So we had to treat people right. And it's hard to move a whole organization to want to do this, but that when they needed help, they knew that they had to treat people right. And so that really was a wonderful opportunity for us. And in fact, it's just happened again here in America, and I think around the world. The labor market is very tight, and what we always find that this comes to our advantage, because if we treat our people right and great, that they will do a terrific job, and we'll be able to do a better job than our competitors will. So it's just really important, and it kind of went back from the 1980s when we learned that, and it's been a tenet of our company ever since. Very important to us and to our customers. So
what was that transition when you ended up with two girls that you knew you wanted to go into the business in the future? You knew that they would hold executive roles eventually, but they're sort of working up towards that point, because at the in their business you start on the floor and then you work your way, no matter who you are.
Right. Well, first of all, we think the most important attribute for anyone in a working environment is relationships, and because you have to work with other people, and if you don't relate well to them, you're not a team, and you don't do things well. And this is increasingly important. And as technology is becoming more important around the world, there's a concept called Agile, which is a group of people getting together to try and solve a problem, because you need different people. You need people who understand the business, but you also need people who understand technology. And so this is something that if you can't work well with people, if you can't relate to them, you won't be successful in today's world. And so we find that is extremely important. And what we find, frankly, is that females are very good at this. They're used to it, and it just seems to work out very well.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to jump in here, because that is so true. And it's when I prepared my presentation, one of the highlights that I had was that we as women, and I would just encourage every woman that's listening, don't hold back. We all know the book Lean In, and it's great, but what I think we need to lean in more on is lean in on our natural attributes, as Danny said, about just being a woman. There's some things that we have, that nurturing spirit, that I don't want to generalize, but you have to, sometimes we are nurturing. We're usually mothers, a lot of the time, and if we don't have our own biological children, we're definitely mothering someone else's children, whether it's a niece or a grandchild or something. And I think that we are not taught enough about owning and celebrating the quality of the attributes that we have, which is nurturing and agility and flexibility. We are able to pivot very quickly in situations and come up with new solutions, because we've had to do that, because that's the natural role, I think, of a woman in many times. And you find that works you see that playing out in the workspace, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the lessons we've learned over the years is we didn't begin with women in management positions, because our food industry in particular, it was a heavy business and a lot of lifting, and it was male dominated. And so we set out to change that and have more females involved in the company. So one of the things we found is that you had to hold everyone to the same standard. Our first value is caring, but our second value is high standards. And we feel that by asking everyone to achieve a high standard, whether they're male or female, then it's a level playing ground. And what's happening in our company is that females are doing extremely well. We'd worked on this for years, and I think Paula mentioned about my daughter talking about my conviction to make this happen. Well, it's really happened, because half of our top management is female, and all the way through the company, they're females. And it's strange. When Paula told me she was talking to you today about this, we're kind of gender neutral. I don't think of someone as a male or a female in terms of their contribution to Wegmans. Everyone has different skills, and you mentioned that females are sometimes are nurturing, naturally more nurturing. Not all are, and but most are. And so you have to put a team together that combines the skills of people who are nurturing with the people who just want to get a job done. And sometimes both of those people are female. And I'm just very excited about that as I've watched what's happened in our company. And I just hope it continues to go on working.
Yeah. It's so exciting to be a part of this and see this and actually see someone that's, actually in action doing it. And the other thing I think that I've noticed from being, around the business now and understanding is that a lot of mentoring goes on, which I think, again, a lot of people can mentor, but I think it's probably very critical for females to take on that role with other young females, because we just need that extra confidence in many situations for someone to believe in us and know that we can do it. And I think that, as I would encourage every woman in the audience to mentor somebody, whether it's someone, in your workspace or a student. I think it's just very important for females. We think different in many ways. We just can't deny that. That's just how it is. And I think that having someone in your life that you can speak into their lives and having someone that can mentor you as well. I mean, I once heard this at another event I was at years ago, and it really spoke to me. And I think I shared it with you, and you liked it too. Was that you have to have 3 mentors in your life. One is someone that's older than you, that's aspirational. You can learn from them. Somebody that's your peer that you can relate to directly because they're doing the same things as you and having the same challenges and the same victories. And then someone that's younger who can teach you about what's coming in the future. So I think that, tying that into the whole empowerment, I think that's also a huge part of what makes us successful as women. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too is that, again, from a female perspective, is that we as females need to also kind of exhale and be ourselves. I think a lot of times, and you're probably you are, I think, the exception in many ways, and because again, and I'm going to repeat it, you're, only son, 3 sisters, 9 nieces, 2 daughters. He jokes about it, but the fact is that being surrounded by a lot of women would help you to understand, and have a different perspective. But a lot of the time we are in situations where, I remember being on many boards where I was the only female, or if there was maybe one other, that was a lot. And, sometimes you're a bit hesitant to speak out, and, we tend to overanalyze things a lot of the time, women, and overthink things. And I'm generalizing, but, you have to in this situation because you have to come down on one side or, something. And I remember, I would say something, but I wasn't sure if it was correct, but I thought it was a good idea. A guy grabs it and he runs with it. And all of a sudden and I'm sure this happened to people. They speak more confidently. They're with the guys, and all of a sudden it's like, but that was an idea I had, or I thought that, or you had an idea that you didn't say because you felt a little intimidated. And then, or on the other extreme, you speak out, you're confident, and they're seen as, a bossy, what. And so I think that, we need to find that balance as well, and have the confidence to find that balance. And as Danny said earlier, and I really like that, is that, caring doesn't mean low standards. So yes, we want to be nurturing, but we have to find that balance, and we have to have the confidence and the courage to not conform to the narrative around us, but feel bold enough to speak out. And I remember, I'll give you a quick example. My daughter, she was thriving at her all-girls boarding school in England and doing really well, but then she decided that she wanted to go to a mixed co-educational for the last 2 years of high school, and something that was a little more challenging academically, et cetera, et cetera. Well, of course, the first 6 months was a total disaster because it was so different for her. And she had to really pull herself up and be confident to participate in class and not feel overwhelmed by the guys. It was more guys in the classes, particularly as she took the subject, STEM type of subjects, which again are an area that women are absolutely, succeeding in. But at the same time, we need to push them in that direction because it's not natural. And I remember she was very upset one day, and she said to me, "Mommy, I had the answer for a question, and I didn't say it loud enough." And the guy next to me, the boy next to me, he took that, he then took my answer, and he blurted it out really loud, and he got all the credit for it. And everyone, and the teacher told him how great he was. She says, "What do I do about that?" I said, "Look, that happens to me in board meetings too. And we have to make a pact between us that we're going to say it, even if we say it afraid. We're going to speak out, and we're going to, find our voice and use our voice." So that's, something else I want to encourage women today. I think that how do we progress, in this workforce is to be confident in what we have, confident in our attributes, which are not always seen as, they're not things that they're not brawn, and they're not necessarily, all the ones that a man might have, but we have a different perspective. We have that flexibility naturally. We're nurturing, intuitive, and these are things that we need to own and be proud of. Being a mentor is critical, speaking out and finding our voice, using our voice, and then finally being ourselves and really understanding the role that we can play to make any workforce better. We have a very dynamic role to play, and we need to own it, and we need to be empowered by it,
Well, I have a simple approach to these things you're talking about. And that is, I think that women are wonderful, and I'm just going to urge you to be yourself. And don't try and be somebody else. Don't try and be a man. Be yourself, and you're going to do great.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I couldn't agree more.
I've been surrounded with wonderful women my whole life, and that continues today. So.
Thank you. So I think that's where I think that those are the things we want to emphasize, and I know I don't have all the data and all the facts about how women are, being sidelined and whatever, but I think that, these simple principles that sound so simple and so sort of organic, they work. And I think that it's important to not lose sight of those things and do our part to stand up for them, to encourage them through mentorship, to encourage them in ourselves, and to every day know that we're adding so much value to this world and being proud of it in whatever capacity we do add that value. So thank you so much. We appreciate being asked to join you, and it's a real privilege. It's always good to share happy stories and things that work. And I hope that, you've gotten something from this today. Thank you for joining, Danny.
Thank you, baby.
Thank you so much. I've just been sitting, just watching the energy between both of you. And what do young people say? Goals? All right. Just wanting to have that kind of synergy. But Paula, I'm gonna step over you and ask your husband this question.
Please do.
So, Danny, you said that forgive me if I'm not using the right verbiage, but do you think that you have an advantage of understanding women because you have spent the majority of your life around women?
I don't know. Hard to say. I had a wonderful mother, and she was very human oriented and great with people. And I had a wonderful father who was a kind of a hard-nosed businessman. But so that's kind of,
you got the
I
combination.
came out halfway between. And but so I believe in both.
And are you still learning about women? They always say that women are complicated. Are you still learning?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
So, Paula, you said about mentoring, yes?
Yes.
You said about having mentors that are older, or your peer, or younger. Who have been your mentors in your journey?
My gosh, I've had so many. I have had ones that I've never even met through books, one of the people that mentored me, and I've never met him. Danny knew him coincidentally. In fact, that's how we got chatting together and became great friends, is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. Mm-hmm. I think he was a great mentor. So that's another thing. Don't think that if someone's going to just drop into your life and mentor you. Sometimes we have to seek mentors out, even through reading. Joyce Meyer, I used to preach. I helped plant a church. I did. Yeah, I was a praise and worship leader. I preached, I taught, I did everything. And so I Joyce Meyer, was definitely, I finally got to meet her one day, coincidentally, but again, one of my mentors. I had the first person, when I first came back to Jamaica to work, I had a wonderful woman called Norma, and she worked with me in the first project I did with our business in Jamaica. And she totally straightened me out good and proper, because, you know, Jamaica has all these levels and these complex systems that no one talks about. Well, believe me, it was the best learning ground for me, because she was my mentor to show me that how to behave in the workplace and how to be accepting of everyone across the board, young, old, indifferent, whatever. And so I think that that was critical to me. My children are my mentors. They're the ones that taught us about the internet and the whole, you know, social media and all of that, things like that.
Right.
And that's how Danny actually got to know my kids separately to me.
Yes.
Rebecca.
Yeah, I before Paula and I were married, we were invited over to her house, and I met her daughter, Rebecca, and I knew nothing about social media. And so that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it set me off on a journey to learn about that. So I guess when it comes to mentoring, I think you can learn from anyone. And I just think it's nice to have people that you trust and that you see on a regular basis, and you'll learn from them. So
Well said. Yeah.
Well, I know that the Wegman is #1 on People's Magazine for companies that take care of their staff. Are you able to put in words? I figured this would be Danny or Paula.
No, I can back him up, but
what would
I'm in the workplace with him now too. You know, in the stores, it's great.
Okay. So would you be able to tell me what the key is to gaining your staff trust, that they are so happy to come to work and to give of their best? Do you have an idea of what it is that you do? Can you put it into words?
I think the simplest words are that to us, they are our company. Our people are our company. And that if they do well, that they will do a great job to take care of our customers. And because we can't know all our customers, but we can know all of our people. We really do. And we visit and try and see everyone every year. And they're important to us. They're our friends, and we're their friends, and we understand them. And that's our commitment. And that it just works. They are happy when they see us, and we're happy when we see them.
Yeah.
And we don't have a plan B. That is our plan, and we're committed to it. When the virus came, we knew we should be paying them extra monies. We did that. We're not afraid to do that. We're not afraid to invest in our people and training, and they know these things. We care about them, and the wonderful thing that I've found is that this philosophy works. I mean, I get so happy because that's what we do. We're not out to try and make money. We're not out to try and hurt people. We're out to take care of our people who take care of our customers, and it works. So I just am so happy every day when that happens.
Yeah, as Joseph I says, leading with the heart.
Yeah, leading with your heart.
Yeah, their philosophy is they lead with their heart, and I've seen it, and it's wonderful, and I've learned so much from that. You know, you lead with the heart, and I think that came in particularly helpful during a pandemic when people were going through hard times. If you were already leading with your heart, then it was a natural. You just sort of evolved and you pivoted right into it, and that's why they were on the cover of People magazine, because I think people recognize that. Yeah.
Definitely. And I know you will continue to grow and continue to touch many more lives. And as I wrap this up, Danny's simple approach: be yourself.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's
I believe in it.
Well, thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy the rest of the conference, and we'll pop in and out as we can.
All right. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to play the video that you sent for us to wrap up this first session. But thank you both.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you again.